guys, happy Thursday. We are super excited because today we have a really fun class. As you guys know, Valentine's Day is literally right around the corner. But this project is not only geared towards that, the Valentine's Day holiday, but you could do any customization, any letters you want, and make it your own. So today we are going to show you the word love, and we've already done most of the hard work for you, but we're going to go step by step of how we created this. And then we're also, if you want to make some later, we'll send you guys the cut files, and then if you're joining us at home, we will attach them to Facebook too, so you can follow along with us. But there's really not that many materials needed with this project. And time-wise, this is probably going to be, if we were to consider it like on a level per se, it'd probably be on the beginner level. And then your cost in terms of vinyl is very low. So if you were going to be selling these, this would give you a lot of profit margin. The time-consuming part would be the stain of the wood, going to have it cut. And then you'll just want to wait 24 hours for you to apply any of that vinyl on it as well. But that would be the most time-consuming thing. But with these brilliant machines here, whether you have a Silhouette or a Cricut, it's going to cut it out in no time at all. And like I said, we're going to go through the love letters today, but you could do your name, you could do, you could sell any word you really wanted to. I've actually seen there was like a shelf in a store one time, and it had the entire alphabet for Scrabble, and they were just selling each letter separately. So that's what you guys could do if you were selling like an online business. You could just sell per letter, and then they could create their own word, and then they came with like little shelves almost. So it was like a little ledge that you could put them on, and you could do like different increments depending on what size letters you had. You can make these smaller, a little bit of everything. So if you are selling online, you can take advantage of that and let your customers decide what they want. And then Chelsea had a good idea too, to kind of get your money's worth. You could also put another letter on the back. So if you wanted to create another 4-word letter or have a different vowel there, you could do so. If you needed the breakdown of the Scrabble increments, the little letters or numbers at the bottom, Google will do wonders for you there. So just make sure that you have the right numbers. This one obviously would not let you win the game, but this could even be fun to do like an oversized Scrabble game. So for kids, you could do it 4 times this size and have them play with it on the floor. Just make sure you sand it first. Welcome. Hi. So we have already cut down the wood, so you're going to see them here. We've laid out a few that have already been stained, and we let them cure for 24 hours. This size, let me remember, I think it's like 5.5, yeah.
It's a 6-inch board, but nothing's ever actually 6 inches.
Right. Our guys at Lowe's cut everything down for us. But our height right now is about 6.5 inches. So we have already, when we're in our software, so whatever software you're using, Silhouette or Cricut, we've already sized everything. So that will already be good to go too if you want to make some more at home. But like I said, not that many materials, and it's really kind of a short project to do. But other things that you could kind of get involved with what would be painting. So if you wanted more of a rustic feel, you would do the stencil as the reverse. So you would leave this empty here, then you could paint it on the inside, still using your vinyl, and then you could tear it off. So there's so many different ways, but today we are going to be using these here. So just to kind of show you step by step of where I began, I'll kind of flip it around here. So this is your grid, and this is in Silhouette. Cricut will look very, very similar. And then like we've already done all the hard work, so we're just gonna send it to our cut machine. And I do have a confession, I've been abusing this guy non-stop crafting over here, so it actually kind of sounds like Chewbacca right now. I think I need to replace the strip, but it's definitely gotten its use. If you work in a craft store, you're crafting all the time. So you'll just have to line it up with your arrow. Same goes for the Cricut. We'll load it in. Vinyl is going to be face up. So if it were heat transfer, it would be the reverse, and you would put that shiny side down. But because it's vinyl, no need to mirror your image. The shiny side goes up, and then we are going to cut. So I'm going to send it to my Silhouette. Even though this is Bluetooth compatible, I always tell everyone in here there's so many machines going around, so it's hard for the Bluetooth to find the right machine sometimes. But all you need to do is select the material that you're going to be using. So we are using the vinyl glossy, and then all you do is send. So that noise right there is adjusting the blade for us. So that is not a scary noise. It's just making sure that we don't have the wrong settings selected. So it used to, the older machines, you would have to take the blade out, manually twist it in, and then put it back. So this is, well, so this is good. You get to see our mistakes. If something does go wrong, then you can always pause it and you can cancel the job there. And are you sure you want to cancel? Yes. So what happened was, this is also a super old mat, and it's not very sticky on the bottom, so it wasn't holding the vinyl. So let's unload it. So what you can actually buy spray, so if your tack runs out, then you can just spray it down, or you could actually take, thank you, you could take good care of your mat. And it does come with like a blue piece of paper when you open your machine, so make sure in between jobs to lay that down too, because as you can see, there's a lot of dust particles and everything. So I'm going to hold it down in the beginning, just because this is, I think I grabbed a really old mat. But again, just make sure when you're laying it down that there's not large bubbles. It doesn't have to be perfect there, but you don't want to have a large bubble in the center. I'm going to hold it down, press load, and I'm going to cheat a little bit for time, and I'm going to hold that vinyl so it stays. I've even used just tape before on the side. I don't know if Silhouette would cringe knowing that I'm coming up with my own ways to hold it. But a new mat is only $10, so there's really not a large replacement cost there. So we only have 4 letters, but when I was cutting yours already, I used a larger mat. So I did a 24-inch mat, and so I was able to get 2 sets of letters. And we are using OraCal 651, so that's our permanent adhesive. So it is going to stay on these tiles unless someone is picking it up. Obviously, it would move there, but this is going to be $1.75 for a longer sheet. So 24 inches, it's $1.75. It's doing much better now. And even if you wanted to do the paint instead, I would still recommend the 651, the permanent adhesive, because if you're not letting it stay for very long, it's not going to get that full adhere. So it actually takes 24 hours for this vinyl to really stick in. Okay. So now it is cut. So I have the same thing that you guys have there. So there's a few different ways that we can go about this. You could actually weed this whole thing at the same time because these letters really don't have that much detail, or you could cut them. So can everyone see the cut lines on theirs? So if you want to actually take your scissors, and if you'll cut it into 4 increments, so you'll have each letter, including the number, make sure you don't take the number off, cut into a square. So this just makes it a little bit easier to work with rather than pulling off the whole thing. So now we are left with 4 squares. Yeah. Still try to set them up. And because of the thickness, they already stand on their own. So if you wanted to put it on a mantle or any other hard surface, you could display them like this, or like I said, you could kind of create your own tray and have them displayed that way too. So now do we all have our 4 squares? We are going to take this handy dandy weeder tool. I know it looks a little bit scary. It is sharp, so be careful. Now when we are weeding, you aren't actually going to peel from the edge, which a lot of people think they need to do. You can actually puncture the top of your vinyl, but as long as you're not on the letter. So just don't make sure that you're not hitting anywhere inside that letter, but anywhere to the outside that we are going to be removing anyway is okay. So if you actually, from the top, kind of puncture a hole, just so you're able to grab that top. You see how the vinyl's coming away from that paper? That's what you want. And this is sticky, so make sure it doesn't stick onto itself, but you're gonna pull back. So I'm pulling back to the corner so it comes off easier. And once you get a good grasp of it, you can actually just use your hand. You don't need to use the weeder tool anymore. And then everything else should stay on the paper. So for the L, we'll have the L and the number. Perfect. So you got a good hold on it. You can actually just pull it back. If you pull it down, yep, exactly. Okay. So you don't even need the weeder tool. So if you were doing that larger sheet, I actually did it earlier and I was able to get the whole sheet, which was nice. But if you needed to trim off vinyl as you went, that's totally doable too. So just continue with the rest of your letters, making sure you puncture from the corner and pull it down. You'll find how sticky this permanent adhesive is really fast. And then for the O, for instance, you're going to want to make sure that we get that cavity out. So there's going to be an inner ring in here. Again, anywhere in that center is okay. You just grab from the top and we'll remove. And so this vinyl will be trash, so I'm just kind of rolling it up and setting it aside. But let's say you only cut, half of that vinyl sheet out. You'll want to do the same thing where we cut off the rest, so then your other vinyl will be usable, so it won't just go to waste. Yeah, she's a master now. She's been to all the classes.
Oh, I know. She's so crafty.
And then in that 4, you'll want to make sure you get the cavity in that letter 4 too. So I think I'm done.
I don't like throwing things away.
I could have kind of moved these letters a little bit closer so we wouldn't have had too much waste, but then it's just going to be harder for you to actually apply your letters later.
Yeah, my vinyl got stuck.
Oh no, I can give you one of my letters if you need it.
My E wasn't cut all the way.
Here, let me give you my E. If only this worked all the time, just a flip-flop.
So what size board did you get?
This was, what was the original, Chelsea?
10 by 6.
Taller than me, for sure.
10 by 6, and then you just had them cut it to like 6 by 6.
So they, depends on which one you go to, because they did not want to cut something this small for me, but I also think that he was the only man on staff. So I don't think he wanted to spend as much time on this one, because we've never had a problem with them cutting any of this wood before.
Okay.
But they will cut pretty much anything for you.
Cool.
So yeah, start with the larger board, and then you can always cut it down. So now that you have your letters, I think we have most of them. We have transfer tape that's laid out right in front of you, and I believe almost all of them have the sticky side up, or it's rolled, which you can actually do too. But you'll just unroll it so the sticky side is facing up. And I will cut mine out too. But when we were doing research on Etsy, we were not in shock, I guess, because there's so many crafters, so there's so many of these projects, but there was pages and pages full of crafters selling these Scrabble letters. But some of them were more attractive than others because of their photos and how they displayed them. So if you are selling, you have to take that into consideration too. Because there were some that I would have clicked on, but you never know. Maybe the one that didn't photograph well was actually better quality. So just make sure if you are spending time or having more details on this, that your photos serve the justice too, because they're seeing this for the first time online, where you're seeing them in person. So just make sure you take that into consideration. And then most of them were selling between $4 and $7 per letter. So you could sell them that way, or you could do them in bundles and give them a better price if they're purchasing more, or you could put them together with a little bit of string, just display them a little bit nicer. And then you could also make the trays too that go with them. So this is our transfer tape. We are going to be using paper, and that has a less of a tack than the clear tape. So this is nice because it'll be easier to take off this paper and then put it onto our wood. whereas clear is going to have more of a strong grip, and it's going to be harder to take it off of the wood surface here. So we have chosen to use the paper, and there's a few different ways that you can use it. We can cut it now, just the same size as our letters, which we actually did here, or you could place all of them and then cut them after. So I think we gave you a large enough piece. I might have to pull you another one for you over there. But you can actually take the letters, and since my sticky is facing up, you always want to kind of curl it in the center here and then lay it out. So that way we're not going to get bubbles. This is fairly easy because they're thinner. If you were doing something super bulky or a very large image, you would definitely want to make sure you start in the center. So I'm going to go from the top, put it in the center, and then lay it out from there. And I'm going to lay all my letters out, and then I will cut them after. So just make sure you have enough space, and the key is going from the center all the way out. And just use your finger at first to make sure they're laid down there, and then we'll use our tool in just a second. Yep, so our goal is to have the transfer paper pick these letters up so then they are removed from the paper side. Perfect. Do you need some more paper over there? Let me grab you this one. Oh, and it's sticky. So once it grabs hold, there we go. Just make sure it's not. And I can get you some more. I can get you some more tape too. Yeah.
As long as you've got the letter on the sticky
Yeah, the
stuff.
paper, the back here can overlap itself, that's fine, as long as the vinyl hits that page.
Okay, thanks. I'm the novice.
This is good, but we want to know these.
Crafty person either.
We want to know these questions because since we've been doing it so much, we don't know, what kind of tricks to give you guys. So it's always nice to get these questions. And then once they are laid on there, you can cut around the letters. So removing that additional tape. Does not need to be perfect at all. We're just making it a little bit easier and getting that out of the way. So I'll cut them individually. Yeah, so if you cut the paper too on the top, that's okay. You just don't want to cut the vinyl. And then once you have done that step, if you will lay them down, and your tape should now be on the top. And I'll wait for everyone to get there. And then once you have your letters cut out and the tape is on the top, this is our little squeegee tool, and it has a few different edges. So there's some that are more round than others, some that are straight down. We have a diagonal too. If you don't have one at home, you can just use a credit card or any hard surface, but these are around $3. And what they're gonna do is give pressure to that vinyl so it'll actually release from that paper. So once you get to this step, just make sure that you are going over the vinyl that you see through the paper. And because we're using black, it's easier to see. I know sometimes with the paper, it's not as opaque as the clear, but we can see these actually really well. And there's not a lot of detail, so only maybe just a few presses, and it should be removed. You can always give it a test, and you can start from the corner and peel back on itself, and as long as everything is coming off to the transfer, then you're good. If it doesn't, no problem at all. Just lay it back down, scrape it just a little bit more and it should release off.
Okay, no, I smoothed it, but when she said, you take this off, what's supposed to,
Yeah, just like that.
Yep.
Because then you're gonna, this part, Holly will go on here. And then you do it and then,
oh, okay, I see, that's how we're gonna get
Yeah.
that straight on there.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. It is confusing at first because you're like, what? It's already on here. Why can't I just
Yeah,
transfer it?
Yeah,
Can
I'm
you
getting
just
it.
kind of refresh what you're doing on those sides?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we have, I know we have some customers joining us just now at home. So we are creating these Valentine's Day Scrabble letters. We did just a 4-letter set here, but you guys at home can do whatever you want. You could customize whatever name or saying. You could cover your whole mantle if you wanted to. You could do the whole alphabet, sell them that way. We're in the process of transferring our cut vinyl with our Silhouette or Cricut. I won't leave you out. I love the Cricut too. And we are gonna now lay them on the wood. So we're gonna leave the vinyl as vinyl, but you could also use a stencil too and do the inverse. So if you are a perfectionist, I left you a ruler nearby. You can absolutely measure it. I did not measure for these letters here, but I will give you a tip on how I did that. Now that I already know it worked, I will give you the tip. I didn't know if it was going to at first, but I looked at the number in the corner rather than the letter. So that kind of helped me line it up because you want that number to go on this corner. So when I'm laying this transfer tape on the side, I looked at that first. And then usually in this wood grain, you can see some of those lines straight up. If you kind of just, visualize that against that line, then you can get a straight line and also have it the same height as the other ones. So that's how I did it. This is preference, so this is gonna be how you want to lay it out too. You can use that ruler. I will not make fun of you, I promise. And then once you are ready to take the leap, you'll remove one letter at a time. So just make sure that your transfer tape doesn't fold back on itself because then your letters are a goner. So just make sure that you hold them here. And then once we have it on the tape, you're going to lay it onto your wood. So this paper isn't super sticky, so if you put it on there and it's not in the right spot, you can usually take it right off. But make sure you line it up first. I did go with the number, so I'm gonna continue that trick. Hopefully I don't set you up for failure. And then I just set it on there with my hands. And even now you could take your ruler because it's hard to measure and apply at the same time. But if you wanted to kind of measure the sides, make sure that this is about center. We did a pretty good job. And from the bottom, I did about 3/4 of an inch. So I laid it down that way, and then you'll take your tool again, and you are just going to keep pressing to now have your vinyl release from your tape. So just make sure you're going over those edges and press away. And this is our permanent adhesive, but it will take 24 hours to adhere. So if you needed to take it off, you could, but you do want to give it a full 24 hours for that tack to really stick. In the same way we took it off the paper, you will take it off here.
Yeah, that's I was looking for this. That's what I had to begin with.
I think we have a unanimous decision of what color wood we like.
Yeah, but mine's shorter.
I would say it was Lowe's guys, but it was actually us this time. We will take fault for that. And because of this is being like such a rustic feel, it doesn't need to be absolutely perfect. I kind of like the way that it is a little bit abnormal. But you could even, if you wanted to distress it more, you could always sand it down too. But this is the stain we used for some of them, which I think is the popular color for you guys. It's Bombay Mahogany Satin. And so we just sanded the wood down, and then we applied this and waited 24 hours. So hopefully I did it enough. When you are ready to pull away, you can take it from the corner, and the key is to pull back on itself. See how I'm pulling straight down? That'll help the vinyl get off of that paper. And I really didn't even use that much force. And it came off pretty easy. So there is my L. And so once you get the hang of this, you could always make it more elaborate. You could change the fonts. Changing the fonts is actually going to be huge, and allowing your customers to do that too is pretty cool. We stuck with something that was pretty close to the Scrabble font, so it would be recognizable, but you could change the fonts too.
What font did you use?
That is always a good question in here. We always go through so many and we can never remember them. We will definitely research that for you though.
Yeah, Elisha made that, I'm not sure what.
Yeah, there is a freebie going on right now. Hungry JPEG has a bundle, so go to the Hungry JPEG.
Hungry
and,
JPEG.
and I'll write it down for you too.
Okay.
They're giving away a free bundle today, and they're so good about giving away freebies.
Okay. And are they commercial use or?
Most of them, yeah.
Okay.
And you can also, if you see one that you want to purchase, they give you the commercial rights too.
Okay. Do we go over this again after we get it on there?
So it is actually on there. If you want to, I mean, it's going to have some bubbles in there, but that is because of the texture of the wood.
Okay.
But you can just use your finger. I wouldn't use something that was sharp like this.
Okay.
And then, like I said, 24 hours, and it is on there.
Cool.
Can you go over the paper versus clear tape one more time for online?
Yeah. So we chose to use paper this time because it's not as tacky as the clear tape. Paper is also good for water use. So if you want to put like a logo on a door, you can actually put some water, and there's like you mix it with a little bit of vinegar. Is that correct, Chelsea? Maybe not vinegar, rubbing alcohol. Yeah. So that way, if you lay it down there and you see that your line isn't very straight, you can use that water to shift it.
And that's on glass.
And that's on glass too. And then you can actually keep pressing it away, leave it there for that 24 hours. And then that gives you some freedom to adjust your design. So as soon as you don't press it, it's not, where it needs to stay. But we used paper for this project because it helped us take off the wood without taking any of that stain off, because some of that tack with our clear is gonna be very, very sticky. So it takes longer for your vinyl to come off too. But with paper, it's just enough tack to get our vinyl to this sheet and then onto our wood as well. So usually we go with clear for most projects, but wood, we tend to fall with paper.
If I was selling like decals to customers that they're gonna apply, I'd always go with clear tape. Just looks nicer, it's easier for them to work with.
Yeah. And this is black, so even on film you can probably see right through it. But with some of those lighter colors, you might not be able to see through the paper. So that's when the clear will help you out a little bit, and you can kind of see everything to line it up. But just continue to repeat that design. And then you can get pretty fast once you have a little practice. And then always try to go from the center out to remove those bubbles. So I'm going to do the O. And pulling on that diagonal really helps too, because if you were to pull it up, you have a chance for your vinyl to actually come with you, which you don't want. So pulling it down against itself like that kind of helps. There's two. And if you're doing like smaller pieces, you could reuse your transfer tape for a little bit, but if it's not sticking anymore, obviously you're gonna have to go to a new fresh sheet. But it always comes in larger quantities, and I believe this one for 12 inches and 100 yards? Maybe 300. It's like $35.
100.
It's always cut off. Bless you.
Thank you.
Have my V. Oh, you're done. You finished. Look at you. Was this your first time using?
Yes.
Look how easy it is. We were joking. We were trying to make it similar to like cooking. So your prep time versus like your cook time. So your prep time here would have been like staining and cutting and doing all of the tiles, and then we were gonna say craft time is just laying out the vinyl and cutting it out, which maybe was 20 minutes. The only time that to take into consideration is the staining. But if you knew these were gonna be a big seller for you, do lots of them at the same time. And you could even have your kids join if you wanted to, and they could even do it. So yeah, I had a little bit come up there, so I'm just gonna use my finger and go across. But it's as easy as that. So this, like I said, was a beginner level class, and you could always make it more intricate if you wanted to and add more details, especially if you're selling at home. We're gonna continue in here, make sure everyone finishes their crafts, but if you joined us at home, thank you so much, and we will send you guys the free cut files. So have a good Thursday, guys. Bye.